So today we'll start with this part, how recruiting and quality franchise a partner, which is very important part of a franchise journey. I feel a lot of people come to me and say, I want to have a very aggressive rollout. And I normally tell them, rather than a very aggressive rollout, set your foundation right. Get your first 3 or 4 right franchise. Because if you get the first 3 or 4 right franchise in place and you handpick them, get them the right kind of quality, make sure that they really understand and work and perform, that would set your foundation for franchising. If you have the first 3 or 4 quality franchisees with you, you would have difficult times or good times and difficult times in the network, but you will never go wrong because you have the foundation right. And that's very, very important. Any good franchise system I've witnessed would have the early franchisees very strong with them. And that's something which is a very, very important part. So selection of a quality franchisee is single most differentiator in making a franchise system work. I'll again repeat, this is a big belief Franchiseindia has, that selection of a quality franchisee is a single most differentiator in making your franchise system work. Now, a lot of times we see that when you just get on to recruiting franchisee without understanding who you're recruiting, you might get franchisees who are poorly operated. You might have franchisee, and this second part is very common, very, very common, that franchisee may be undercapitalized. A lot of times we see people take a franchise and they don't have enough capital to run and operate their business. I would never grant a franchise if I don't see somebody having at least 6 months to 1 year of working capital. And sometimes they don't give you the facts. The franchisee, especially in India, don't give you facts. They would overestimate their capability to raise money, but they don't have sometimes. In this period, I would particularly be very clear that if you want to grant anybody a franchise, make sure they have at least 1 year of working capital, then only do that. Because most businesses, almost about 75% of businesses which fail not because there was not a strong intent or hard work or business model was not right or anything else. They were undercapitalized. They never had enough money to sustain and build that business. That's very, very important. Sometimes franchisee estimate that they would start the free business and the next month itself, they would become profitable and they would be start paying off all the costs which they're running in. And no business can be profitable in the first month. You can be lucky that your cash flows are good, especially if you are in a trading or a retail kind of businesses. And some businesses take a lot of gestation time, Some businesses like healthcare can take up to 2 years before it starts showing up some results. So 2-year patience you need to have in your business to build it up. And now that patience, sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs don't have that. And especially young entrepreneurs who are getting into business first time, they have overestimation about what they can do out of the business. So very, very carefully see that they are very well capitalized. Normally ask a source of capital, where the capital is going to come from, how much they have put for money aside for a working capital. It is available in liquid, or they are going to use or dispose of some asset. Sometimes people have a backup plan, but they normally would think that they would have an asset which they would believe. And assets are not ready liquid cash. And sometimes they take time and they don't able to do that. And the businesses collapse. So see what kind of a cash availability is there. Franchisee may not be like to get involved in the work. Now, these are what I call the absentee franchisees. Now, absentee franchisees means that they don't come to their own business. Absolutely, in some particular categories, that's not good. That's not advised. Rather, I would say for all franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated businesses, a franchisee has to be involved completely in the business. And especially if the business is having a strong operational capability required, like a food or any other service kind of a businesses, a franchisee has to be involved. Rather, ask the difficult question that how many hours you're going to put in the business, and especially the first 6 to 8 months, and who's your next person available in the organization, which is going to be putting the same time of time and structure. That's very, very important for you to really understand. Then let's get on to franchisee might not be compatible for the business. That's also happens. Sometimes a great franchisee, good, hardworking, everything is fine, but is not compatible to this business. We found people have different personalities and they don't sometimes match with certain kind of businesses. So that's also very, very important. Satisfied franchisee is your best salesperson. I have never found a great franchise organization which would be able to sell franchisee without having successful franchisees with them. Once you have a successful franchisees with you, they are your best salespeople. They are the best people to get you more franchises. That's a given. Happy franchisees obviously generate repeat sales. And a lot of good franchise organizations would have multi-unit franchisees. Actually, they have the same franchisees who start taking multi-units from them. Okay, now let's get into the next slide. What is the 4 fits? This is something which Franchiseindia always uses, the 4 fit to really evaluate any franchise. We call it the strategic fit, operational fit, marketing fit, and financial fit. All 4 are very important. When I will sit in an interview with a franchisee, I will put these 4 fits, and 1 fit out of that or 2 fits out of that might be critical fits. Like, for example, if it was something which needs somebody's specific experience, like healthcare. Healthcare, you need maybe a person coming from a medical profession. He has some kind of experience. Then I will give full marks to the strategic fit. There has to be some strategic value outside just the capital, which is very important. It can also do with the location. Sometimes strategic fit also works very well because you have a very good strategic location which fits that business. But when it comes to something which needs a lot of operational capability, like food. Food is a classic example. A lot of people want to get into food franchising, but almost, I would say the maximum failures I've seen is actually in food business. Why these failures happen? Because people don't know, and they're not putting the kind of effort which is required to do that. The people think that food is easy, but it's one of the most complex business model. You actually have to buy hundreds of things every single day to bring to your store to kitchen, do a prep, take customer orders, deliver them on time. Then only this business really works. It's a very complex business in that sense, but needs a lot of strong operational capability. Third is the marketing fit. Some businesses need a lot of strong go-to-market capability. It's not easy to take them to market. There you need a good marketing fit. And then there is also what I call the financial fit. Financial fit is also very important in some businesses which have a long gestation cycle, or they would need more capital to be ramped up. For example, distribution-based businesses. When you start, you might require a small money to start that distribution part. As your distribution life cycle grows, or you have bigger distribution marketplace, you need to put more working capital. And that's how it happens. I replaced one of the franchisees of PepsiCo in Delhi, and it was done confidentially because they felt that the distributor or the franchise partner didn't have the capital to feed the market, because it was all credit market. You have to put the liquid in the market, and Coca-Cola's counterpart was able to give to the last markets also, but he was not able to give. So we brought in a very large player who committed another 200 crores in the business, so to bring that kind of fulfillment. So sometimes you really have to see that who you need at that stage. So this is a normal checklist we will prepare. This checklist, if you really see, is divided into different topics, different questions. And when you're sitting with a franchisee, you need to start ticking the questions, giving them rating on that. But if you see on the right side, I've put weightages. In some case, I would say if strategic was more important, I'll give strategic more weightage. I'll give 30% to strategic, 20% to this. And I will again give financial a little more weightage. So I put 30% there and put 20% for the marketing skills. And if I score everybody on that and different questions which needs to be done, and each question is very well defined, and if I see that a franchisee is still securing anything above 60% on the marks, then I would qualify the franchise. See, it's a very simple structure. We will put 4 fits. Depending on what is the most critical fit, give a more weightage, create the questions on that, start asking right questions, put kind of a rating to some kind of numbers. And once you're able to do that and you find the franchisee still above 60%, then he is the right franchisee to do that. This is something which you should never miss. This is a very, very important part of the discussion. Sustainability of a franchise system. This is very important part. How do you make franchise system sustainable? And this is something which we have seen. We've seen a lot of franchise businesses gone into the business and a lot of them collapsing because they don't have these points. So first point is your product itself. When you are getting into franchising, you need to really see what are you offering to the customer, how compelling your product is, what kind of differentiator you are bringing in. This is very important because the entire market is shift market. You're shifting a customer which is consuming somewhere something and should be converted to you or to your franchisee. Unless and until your product has a strong differentiator, it would not work. So first ask yourself, what is the differentiator you are bringing in the product? It can be your offering, it can be your price points, it can be anything. It can be your last mile user experience, but there is a clear cut differentiation, some kind of a, and if you have something which is proprietary, something which you have yourself, then it is even better. I see a lot of Me Too concepts coming in, and that's why they're not able to survive, because they don't have any kind of a strong differentiator. Whenever they open up a franchisee struggles because franchisee is not able to get the right customers coming to them, because they are not able to shift from the other competition which is available in this micro market. And this is something which is very important. Sometimes only success would not be really good enough. A lot of companies which have legacy brands, say I was in Karol Bagh and a very, very successful sari store. And if I thought that I can be franchised, then answer is wrong, because you might have started this store and you were in Karol Bagh, which is a very old market. And over the years, people knew in that market, you build your own customer base. Doesn't mean that when you open up the same place in Hyderabad, you'll be successful. And we have seen this with a lot of companies failing down because they had nothing they had, which was a great differentiator. So one has to really ask, what is the differentiator you have in when you take your product to the market? Second is your prototype, how well defined your prototype is and how profitable it is. And take the elements of what I call the vintage brand and other things, unique location, all that things which are very special to that particular location. If I take that out and I still feel the business is going to be sustainable, then your prototype is right. A lot of companies do alpha beta. They normally would do one place prime, which is home market, which is very strong for them. And they take another experiment market and try there also. Because if they feel that these two have done well, then only it is important. Like for Reliance, when they launched their gas stations, it was a great program because of the subsidy issue got failed, and now they're again ramping up. They launched two gas stations initially. One opened up in Jamnagar. And Jamnagar, you open up anything for Reliance, it would do very well. Second, they open up on a highway at Patiala Road, where they had no structure. Then they wanted to check on the truckers. Why would truckers come to a Reliance petrol pump? So they did a lot of testing before they start getting into different markets. So they picked up 4 or 5 different unique markets to test their business before they can really launch that. And this is something which I like about Reliance. They're very, very particular about doing a lot of their prototyping before they would able make a decision to do that. Third is your margins, how your margins are there. If do you have enough margins to share with your franchisee? Sometimes companies are super tight, and especially Indian businesses, I've seen a very, very tight businesses. They don't have margins to share with the franchisee. So see how you want to really first address that part, because how much margin you have for making the viability of the business for you, for a franchisee, and for a customer, so that able to see a value in your business or product. Fourth is capitalization of the system itself. You and the franchisee has to be capitalized. So as a brand owner also, I normally would say, keep enough cash to support your business. It's very important, because if you don't have cash to support your own network, you will get into problem. And a lot of franchisors also are undercapitalized. So it's not bad if you are undercapitalized, first raise some capital before you start even franchising, because you are able to really, while franchising is also part of raising capital, but you need to still have enough capital to support your franchisee. You should have the right team, right operations, right structure, right marketing launches, everything, your technology, your social medias, everything has to be in place before you get into franchising. Fifth is, this is an investment in relationship. You need to be committed, and it's very tiring. I know people who have run their own organization. It's very autocratic way of doing business, which means that you give instructions to everybody and they just work on your instructions. But when you shift into a franchise organization, it's a relationship. It's a relationship. It's like a one managing director managing a lot of managing directors, So it's owner to owner relationship. So it has a very different way of thinking. And you have to move from what I call the in the business. Normally we are in the business, we are doing instructions and making the business. We have to move from in the business to on the business. That's a mindset difference. And that mindset difference is very important. And sometimes I've seen a lot of brand owners, when they are running their own business also, say I was a restaurateur and I was running 4 of my own restaurant and I start franchising. So 90% of my time really goes into buying 4 restaurants because I see I've invested there. I need to take care of that business and I want to make sure that every restaurant is profitable. And I put a very little time on my franchise business. And my franchise business is also running somebody's investment. So I always would say, detach yourself from your own business. Treat your own outlets also like a franchise outlet. Then only your network would grow very well. So you need to understand how this has to be a change of mindset itself. Then only you will be able to do that. Sixth is innovation. You need to constantly put innovation at all levels in your business, unless and until you take what I call approach of incremental growth. Every day, small growth, small process improvement, small product improvement. If that innovation becomes part of your organizational cycle, then only your franchisee would become, your franchise network would stay relevant. Otherwise, at a certain stage, it would not be relevant and will go out of business. Seventh is reinventing the business model. This is also very important. Now the cycles of reinvention have become shorter. So 2 to 3 years, you need to reinvent. And that's something which is very important. I'll give you a classic example. One of the companies which has been a super disaster in franchising, one time it was the most successful franchise business, including in India, one of the most successful franchise. And in 1 year itself, the entire company packed up globally, not only India. So there was a company which we used to advise called Kodak. Kodak used to be the film processing company. So they make this film, when you go to a process, they used to have this 80 lakh machine, big machine, photo processing studios. This was available all over India as a franchise. Very successful business model. All the time you go there, some of the franchises would run 24 hours shifts to cover that, because in the day they would do the retail business. In the evening, a lot of photographers from other parts would come and get their processed. And even if you are on a season time, like you're in marriages and places like that, your numbers would go even more, and you're selling high ticket processing and so on and so forth. Very successful business. It used to cost you about 1 crore. 80 lakh was only the machine there, which was a photo processing machine. Now, they already knew in late 90s that world is changing to digital. And they were doing this old form of photograph processing. Because they invested so big and their franchises put this 1 crore each, they never wanted to shift. They stick there as a company. They already know that everybody is changing. The cameras have become digital. Everything is future is digital. Smartphones are coming. Everything is going to come. So they really thought that they're in the business of making machines, but they were the business of imaging. They were in the business of photography. If they would have really thought, and what happened, there was another company which I advised, and I'm very proud that I built the model first time for them globally, was Hewlett Packard, which is HP, a large IT giant. In 2005, I worked with them and advised them to create a photo studio franchise. Now, the photo studio franchise was just buy a HP computer, take a small printer, and different medias. If you are printing on different textures, different kind of papers were available, and you can process that. And this can be a small studio outside a high court where you can do a passport size pictures, or a passport office, or somewhere like that. So small studios can be done where people can come to as basic work to create an ID card, to get their passport size photograph or basic entire thing, or they can come with a family vacation pictures and bring their camera. We plug the camera, take the pictures, print it out all, and give it to everybody, and you can buy some frames and other things from the time. Now, this franchise of HP was costing total 2 lakh rupees, and Kodak was 1 crore. This company, HP, went to making 1,500 franchisees in 3 years, and Kodak closed the business. They closed the business, the company went into bankruptcy, world over, the business is shut and finished. Now, if Kodak would have thought that we are actually in business of imaging, they would have still be relevant and they would be still strong. So one has to really understand that when are you going to reinvent your business model. So 8th point is training, invest into your training. 9th is building a quality franchisee network. You need to really have a long-term growth plan with every single franchisee. Define very clear roles between your organization, very clear processes in your team. Every process should be a process leader in your organization. Franchisee doesn't like to deal with different departments and different people in different departments. It gets so tiring for a franchisee. So if I tell the franchisee that, look, in my marketing department, for this, you go to this person, go to this person, nothing. If you tell this is a one process, marketing is one process, anything to do with marketing, reach out to this one person. That's how franchisees like working on that. And that's why some franchisees find it difficult to work with large organizations, because they look very overwhelming and they don't support, versus sometimes the small firms are more proactive and they're very clearly defined. Choosing the right location also is a very important aspect, and you need to have a very strong team. Franchising needs a very small, maybe, but very strong and in-depth team, because it's not about really making a large organization. It is about creating the right nucleus. And I've done this for many companies, creating a right kind of nucleus before they start getting into franchise. So this is about how do you really create a mindset of collaboration with your franchise network, because it's very important that franchisee is an integral partner. I rather call the early stage 3 or 4 franchisees as your co-founders. They're your co-founders. A lot of great ideas come from them. Actually, all the ideas, if you really see from all evolved companies, actually have come from franchise. If you create a situation that you are asking a lot of questions to your franchisees, you have ability to audit their operations, to understand what customer is looking at, you will get into a constant innovation, and you will be also able to put what I call a collaborative approach towards the business, rather than very top-down approach that giving instructions to your franchise network. Now, this is a very important chart. This is what I normally explain even largest of the corporates. A lot of corporates come to me and say, look, we have a lot of dissatisfied franchisees, and I will draw this graph and show it to them why they have this dissatisfaction in the franchise network. Now, if you see, this is on one side, I've put an axis and excitement of a franchisee, and I've put the linear axis on the time he spends on the network. The most excited person is when he signs a letter of intent or an agreement. The day he really commits himself, the day he commits that, okay, I'm going with this franchisee, he's the most excited at the top of the time. Now he signed that and he doesn't know what is going to happen next. And then he waits for 1 week, and after 1 week, he calls the company and says, look, I paid the money and I want to start. What is the next step? And every time he's asking questions, he's asking questions, he's asking help, he's asking entire thing. By the time he's really ready to start the franchise, actually the day he opens his franchise, he's already come down to lowest of his excitement level. He's tired and he's been struggling to get his franchise business up and running. But now it is a business he's already invested. He starts off. Now the business, as he expected, never takes off. No business takes off from the Excel sheet you design. Sometimes it has difficulty. So he actually gets into a negative excitement level. If he goes even bottom, and at that stage, he is already reached at a point that he feels frustrated and he feels that a franchisor is not going to give me anything. Then he starts thinking that, look, I've already invested. Now this is my business. They don't give it or it doesn't happen. Let me start building my own business myself. And he starts pulling up back again, slowly. But he comes back his excitement level because his business is now doing well. But he doesn't give credit to the franchisor. He feels that it was all because of him or her, not because of the franchisor. How do you keep the excitement at the top consistent? Which means that you need to become very proactive. You need to very clearly define your pre-launch capability. What kind of pre-launch? The day you sign, a letter comes to a franchisee and say, welcome letter, this is this is the people going to work with you. Next day, it gets a checklist and say, this is a checklist, this is a 21 day checklist, and we'll work every single day with you. And next day, it comes out and say, you are invited for a great pre-launch training, which we want to give you 3 days. We want to give you our culture, our understanding. Then next day, so every track, and then you come on the launch, there is a specified launch strategy. Then you are getting into what I call post-launch strategy. Then you're hand-holding and maintaining the franchise cycle. I call the 3 stages: dependent, interdependent, and independent stage. So this is something which we design for organizations. This is very important aspect, sometimes ignored, but these are very, very important to keep your excitement and keep your franchisees happy with the system. Now, these are some of the cycles of franchise relationship. You can take all the pictures if you want, otherwise available on the internet. So franchise relationship, I would put these lot of blocks around it. Encourage quarterly franchise meet. as transparent you are with the franchisee, more it will give you value. Second, don't create organizational confused structures. Create a very clearly a nuclear structure. Third, effective local store marketing. Franchisee doesn't want this big boy marketing strategies. They want what is happening for my business, my location. So create a very strong local marketing. Fourth is encourage and build some aspiration in your brand. So it gives you a partner pride. Why have taken this brand? I need to be not for just money, but I should enjoy being partner of your company. A lot of times it looks like the brand is not mine. It belongs to somebody else and I'm just part of it. How do you really create that partnership meaningful, that your franchisee also starts enjoying, because the brand is now shared. It is neither yours, neither the franchisee completely, it is shared. It is a shared brand, right? I'm not talking about the ownership of the brand, but it is brand is now shared by the structure of agreement. So every franchisee should also enjoy being part of that brand. Effective reporting structure, but no policing. You don't like to be policing around. You go and find out what the franchisee would go and cheat you around and continue to see that, and people follow them on Facebook and do that. That's not good. That's not healthy. Even if you found something, go and reasonably question that. Create a argument of create a active discussion point so that everything can be done. Sometimes in ignorance, few things are done which is not good. Like for example, I sold one franchisee, and and one franchisee sends me a card. It was a company which I sold in Bihar, and he sent me a card which had big logo of his and a very small logo of that franchisee he bought. So I asked him, I said, why have you made card like this? He says, no, but this is my brand, which I always wanted to highlight. And this is a brand which I've taken a franchise. I objected to him. I said, look, the day you start thinking this is not your brand and you're bringing this entire thing, it will never be your brand. And this is not a good reflection. Even your franchisor is not telling you this, but this is not a good reflection. You should really start enjoying it now because you bought this brand. If you really wanted to have your brand, why you took the franchise? Why you took the franchise in the first place? So a lot of times people are not into the business. So you need to really see how you build that excitement for them, create transparency, and always keep human connect. One rule I learned from one of the largest franchise companies I worked with, which was called Aptech. And I met the Aptech CEO and said, you have 3,000, one time he had 3,000 franchises. I said, 3,000 franchises, how do you keep the relationship going? And at your level, as a leadership level, as a CEO, how do you do that? And he gave me a simple answer. I said, when I come to office, Gaurav, I have my assistant ready with 4 or 5 birthdays, which I would have on every single day. Because I have so many franchisees, so somebody would have a birthday every single day. So it exactly takes me not more than 20, 25 minutes. I pick up phone and say, I am such and such, happy birthday, and keep the phone down. Look at the relationship. Now this franchisee out of 3,000 gets a call in the morning, first thing in the morning, from a CEO of a large company where you are a small-time franchisee, you only seen his pictures, and he calls you direct and say, happy birthday. And that's a human connect. That's what is more powerful to these very big strategies or white papers or something you will create. And this is something which great leaders would do. They are very clear to connect and touch people and able to do that. So developing an effective rollout plan. Again, I will bring the 4 fits. I will always use this 4 fits for everything. Do a strategic, which cities you want to go, the markets, penetration, the city profile. Then do operational fit. Very importantly, if I choose that city, can I operationally support that city? Then I will get into what I call marketing fit. Marketing is also clustered in India, not even a single place. Now even digital is very geo-focused. Everything you can really pinpoint and say focus on that. So more you are in a cluster, more you are in a one single cluster, more your marketing density would become bigger. And finally, financially fit, which means that any location you select, it needs to create a certain amount of yield, and you need to see that it is right. Always use these 4 fits, even to approve or disapprove your franchisee or the location they are coming from. Always look at a cluster approach. I would always say cluster approach is the right. Better is like one of the companies we did work with is a salon out of Chennai called Naturals. And they had almost about 250 salon only in Chennai. Only in Chennai. So they become powerhouse in that market, right? So, and deeper penetration in that market. So they have a strong market share. And also value of a business is always built when you create an entry barrier. So create a strong entry barrier. So I will say deeper penetration, strong entry barrier, and follow the leader, which means that whenever you are in confused where you should open up, always find who's your best competition, open next to it. Because you actually expand the market. Some people just try to go and create their own innovation and find out which location I should go. Never do that. Find out the top player in that category, just open next to it. You will expand the market and you will get your share of marketplace. These are two aspects of going in the market. When people say which market I should go, I would say either choose the leader. If there is a leader in your category where they have gone in, just follow that. Like one of the companies was slimming company, and they approached me and said, where should we open up? I said, let's find out top 100 locations of VLCC and let's open up next to it. Our program is better than VLCC today because we have better technology looking at what VLCC, but VLCC is already built slimming marketplace and they have a good audience available there. We open up next to it and will be successful. So we always used to take the neighborhood where VLCC was there and go out and do this. This I have done it for many companies in path labs and diagnostic places, pharmacies. Always follow the leader. That's a good opportunity to do. And follow the leader is actually run by the biggest company called Samsung. Samsung is known to be saying of what I call the power of second. The power of second is where you follow a particular leader and you're not the first of that. So Nokia was number one, Samsung was second. Apple is number one, Samsung is second. From a brand viewpoint, market share wise, they are even higher than Apple in a market share. Then identify gaps also. You can identify some gaps. Also, you can work on that. So another factors to analyze is population, demographics, and competition. So initial days when you start franchising, your acquisition cost would be higher. You will get into much higher acquisition cost. And as your franchisee and your brand start becoming popular, the acquisition cost would come down. A lot of lead generation platforms you can use, a lot of print, electronic, web, and various listings. And obviously you can use a good consulting firm which can do that. Franchiseindia has a fully integrated consulting structure from helping you to consult and build your franchise model and also to get that. But multiple other things. Now today, 75% of all leads are from digital. Digital has become the biggest source for franchise leads. Again, once I've done that, I will put the marketing in order. I will know what kind of leads I'm generating, what is the profile of leads. Then I will do lead generation capabilities, lead management, how every lead is done. And actually, if you really see, a lot of people put too much of focus on marketing and recruitment, but they don't put focus on lead management. And one of the areas which Franchiseindia is championed is actually the lead management. And I feel recruitment, too many people really focus too much on that because they feel that that's what needs to be done, or they would focus too much on marketing, but they don't focus on the lead management part of it. So this is a cycle which we will advise. If you want to really get 100 franchisees, you need to see that you have 20,000 hits. You'll get down to 2,000 good quality leads, 1,000 odd expression of interest forms, and 200 letter of interest, and finally 100 franchises. If this funnel is not happening, this is a typical sales funnel. Everybody in sales would understand that. But if you don't have that and you're not looking at every level and you're not seeing conversion ratios every day, where you conversion, maybe you have good leads, but your conversion ratio to expression of interest is very poor. You have a good expression of interest, from there LOI is not converting well. So you can fix that department of yours and get to the next level. This I will run quickly fast because we are running out of time. This is about really a lot of questions you need to ask the franchisees on different locations. So this I can share a profile mail with you. We have maybe 100 odd questions we have made within our system where we ask franchisees. This should never be ignored. Can you see my slides?
Yes, sir, we can.
It says resume share. Okay. So a lot of questions you can ask. What is the location they are interested in? What kind of business they are? Why they are choosing this business? Will they be operator in the business or no? Why do you want to get into business itself at the first stage? So I don't want to run these questions. We can share this because in the interest of time, because I have a lot of slides to cover and I would like to go a little faster on that. These are about 17 questions I've listed, but you can have hundreds of questions depending on why a franchisee is interested to take that. Now, legal issues and their importance. That's very important. The franchise, the relationship is a delicate balance between control and independence. You have to give enough control because at the end of the day, it's an entrepreneur who has to run and operate the business, but it also should have a strong independence and control. So you have to have a strong control, and you also have to give independence to a franchisee to run and operate. Now, these are the reasons why franchisees fail. 25% franchisees fail because of external reasons. Regulatory things changed, industry challenges came in, margins became very low, market conditions, inflation versus growth, a lot of external reasons. Like COVID has now become another external reasons for franchisees to fail. 25% of franchisees fail because of themselves, because they have mismatch of expectation, they are unwilling to change, they are unwilling to learn. This is one of the big problems I see of franchisees. They are not necessarily ready to learn. They have poor location, or they are not maintaining the right standards. But 50% of franchisees fail because of the franchisor himself, because franchisor has no systems. He has poor capitalization. He has over promises. He has inadequate marketing and doesn't have sync with his market trends. So we call the block theory. The block theory is business issue. If the business issue would happen, it will disturb the relationship. The business doesn't have smooth functioning. Your supply chain is broken. Results are not happening. Anything which can disturb the business would disturb the relationship. L is location. If the location is not good, location issue happens, it reduces your profitability. O stands for operational issue. Some operational issue starts happening, it affects the brand. So company has to see that operational is seamless. And last is G, what I call growth issue. Sometimes you're doing okay, you're still making money, but you stagnate. And stagnant means anything which becomes stagnant in life would take away the excitement, and which means you're no more excited for that business. So how do you continue to address these four, which I call the block theory: business issue, location issue, operational issue, and growth issue? So franchisee, this is again very important. The biggest conflict between a franchisor and a franchisee is the mismatch of expectation and obligation at both sides. To execute a good drafted legal agreement, it needs both parties to understand, very carefully understand, to understand that there must be some non-negotiable rules to the business, and few areas are flexible to give franchisee time to learn and improve. It doesn't say that franchisee can change. It says it gets time to learn and improve. You need to further, we have a contract law in India. It's an old British contract law. Under that law, our legal agreements work. Territory, governing laws, arbitration, exit, transfer of rights, franchise fees, royalties, all that has to be very clearly defined in the contract which you sign. Raising capital for franchisors, there are many options today to raise capital. You can go to a venture fund. You can look at a strategic capital, marketing capital, private equity, a lot of merger and acquisitions, IPOs. So at a different levels of a franchisor journey, there are different forms of capital which is available. Franchiseindia has a separate company called Equity India, which works in getting you venture fund or a strategic or even an M&A opportunity. A very big M&A deal we have done, we will announce in next 10-15 days. Very strong and very powerful deal just been executed by Franchiseindia. For a franchisee also, a lot of working capital finance is available. Some banks are also started doing financing. A lot of franchisors are now tying up with NBFCs or credit companies to really organize the finance for the companies. Why franchisees fail? And a lot of franchisees fail because of talent, right talent development or talent acquisition, retention. But a lot of them fail because of location also. So if you see the different sets of franchise failures: talent, excess of capital, right location to be finalized, and other avenues which are there. So these are three stages of failures we've seen in franchising. We've seen some failures with early stage companies which didn't have a right model. Like we did a company called MyGlam, a big cosmetic company. They started direct to home beauty service franchise, technology based. You go on an app, order a beautician, somebody comes and does a beauty. Now the model failed because you don't want to change every time a new beautician. You want the same beautician to come back again. So when the beautician would go to home, she will give her own number and say, next time call me direct. I don't have to go to the app. I have to call this lady directly and she will come up because she did a good job. So the challenges of control really came in. So they failed. Growth stage, we have seen some companies did very well in one market, but they're not able to go. Like a Jumbo Vada Pav, great company, but very strong in one market, largely in Bombay. But beyond Bombay, they were not able to do that because the concept didn't do well. And the mature companies like a Yo China is a good brand, and Moti Mahal, they all failed because fatigue hit them. They were good for 10, 15 years. And after that, people just got fatigued. The brand got fatigued. There was no innovation, nothing they did. With strong brands like that, and brands slowly collapsed. We have to understand we are in India, we are very diverse as culture. We have very variations of different rentals and cost structures. In Delhi alone, there is a rental of 1100 rupees per square feet, and you can get a place for 50 rupees rental also. So 50 to 1100 in only one city deviation. Climate changes differently, infrastructure available differently, consumption patterns are very different. Sometimes some consumption would happen, sometimes some would not happen. Like Eid holidays were going on, and then Hyderabad market would have a very strong retail kind of capability. Some other markets might not have. So we have to understand how these markets really behave. When puja would start in Eastern India, the Eastern India starts 1 month before Diwali season everywhere else, 1.5 months before, and entire sales actually happened that time. So you need to do differently approach these different markets. So I'll pass on this. There are also big companies failed. I mean, McDonald's only failed in Caribbean because of slow economy. Otherwise, most of the places they do. But Wendy's, even if failed in India when they came in, Starbucks failed initially in Australia, not able to understand the coffee culture and Australian culture. Australians like their own very personal coffee experience. Now they're very successful in that market. Similarly, Subway, Crocs, Burger King also have found their own challenges in different markets. This is my last topic, most important aspect. This is a theory which I built, and I strongly feel that this is something which comes out of my over 23 years of experience in franchising. This is a theory being built by me, and I've shared it in different forums globally, and very powerful piece. If you want to really understand deep down franchising, then this Picasso theory is very important. Picasso was actually a great artist. And I felt that drawing your franchise model is like a big artist draw. You need to put everything in the right place, and then only you get a perfect painting. So what does Picasso stand for? It stands for, P stands for proof of concept. You need to have a strong proof of concept. I stands for innovation. C stands for capital. A stands for adaptability. Your business needs adaptability to different markets. S stands for sustainability. S further stands for scalability. And O brings in ownership of the franchisee in your systems. If you are able to put these all blocks together, these are about 7 blocks of Picasso theory, get a good proof of concept, get your innovation right, capitalize your brand, get your adaptability for your product everywhere it can run, and so create sustainable business model which continue to innovate and sustain, scalable business model which can grow and do big, large numbers so that brand equity is built, and give full marks to ownership of a franchise. Now we call the IMME theory, which means identify initially good franchisees. First thing I started the presentation, get good initial franchisees, mentor them well, manage their capabilities, build systems in that, and then go out and multiply and expand everywhere in the market. And last is, as a CEO of a company, when you are building your franchise organization, you should be what I call the ICEO. If you are a brand owner, you need to really think and do these 4 areas of investment. 1, I stands for innovation, differentiated offering. What is the differentiation you want to bring in your franchise system, which is outside the box? Second, how do you continue to work in capitalizing your network, not only yourself, but also for your franchisees, that they're adequately capitalized. They should have strong cash flows always available. Third, work on microeconomics factors of your business at a unit level, at a brand level. Microeconomics factors are very, very important, and they keep changing the way our environments and businesses are driving. And fourth is build a strong organizational capability through training and process development, process execution, and so on and so forth.